They're on the 12 o'clock dot Eastern Standard Time. Would you like to get going, or do you give a little bit of a grace? No, well, let's kick off. Hello, my name is Mallika Macleod, and I am coming to you from Western Australia. I'm from DADAA. DADAA acknowledges the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. They are the traditional owners of the land on which I am coming to you live from right now. It's where our offices are located, and we pay our respect to all of the elders, past, future and present, and we extend our respect to all other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures across this lovely, lovely nation we've got today, joining us from all corners, and I am honoured to join you all today for the little lunch. We do have some housekeeping notes. Those of you who have blocked out your screens, that's okay. But if you do need to get me to slow down, please give me a little wave. And we are joined also by Tony Sarre today, who will be my my colleague in the Fremantle area. Tony will be talking about his filmmaking and his a bit of activism, I reckon, Tony. I think we might touch on a bit of that, given our discussions last night over the phone. Yep. So I just want to go through very quickly some housekeeping notes, please. The little lunch is being recorded and we're being streamed live. It is available for viewing afterwards on www.llol.com.au. Please keep your mics muted when you are not speaking, just to keep it contained to the couple of us who will be speaking. Please introduce yourself in the Zoom chat and say whose country you are on today when you do want to speak to the forum. There is live captioning available. If people click on the captions icon on Zoom, it should be appearing, well, for me, it's at the bottom of my screen. There is also live signing from Susan. Hello, Susan, at Auslan, stage left. It's actually sitting in the middle of my screen, and people participating that way just need to click on Susan's video and pin it. People who want to ask questions, please type it into the Zoom chat or put your hand up using the hand up button. We'll be sticking to the 30-minute time frame today. If you have any tech problems, please contact us on an email. The email is contact, CONTACT, ARTSFRONT.com. That's contact@artsfront.com. And I think that's all my rules. I'm done. Fantastic. Thank you for sending those through to Norm from Feral Arts. So I'm really honoured to have been asked to join you today. As I said, my name's Mallika. I'm the Director of Client Services at DADAA. It's DADAA. Our website, dadaa.org.au. And you can find some fantastic resources on there, information about our organisation. We're a disability arts, mental health arts organisation based in Western Australia. We operate around the state, this massive state that we are here, and we also operate nationally, and we have done a lot of international practice over the many years. I think we're into our 27th year, or I may be incorrect there, 27th, maybe, yeah, 27th. So we are also finding ourselves in the 700th day of April. I don't know particularly what day it is, other than it is my husband's birthday, so I will remember that. However, we are facing a pandemic. We are facing something unprecedented in our times, something we have talked about, something we thought we might know what to do around, and it has come at us in a very quick way, and it's been very exciting to see a lot of art services not only jump on the front foot and say, hey, we've been doing stuff that meets the needs of people in lockdown for a really long time. We've been working in a digital space for a long time. We're good at talking to each other from across the country in our corners. We are good at connecting to others. But it's also been a situation that has shut a whole lot of us down, and it has impacted on the livelihoods, on the ability to put out great work that may have been just about to tour, to be released, to be exhibited. It has shut down so many incredible artists' work from being seen by the wider audience of the world. But this is an awesome opportunity for us to do it better, to get on board with new technology, and to really include people who've never been included before. What it has done, however, has highlighted what we've talked about it for years: the digital divide. It's highlighted the people who have been left behind. But it's, I'm a wheelchair user. I'm not sitting on a conveyor belt here. I'm a wheelchair user. I have been since I was a child. I'm really used to turning up to places and not getting in. I am really used to turning up to places where the access was not right. My colleague today, Tony will be able to enlighten you on the things that he has faced throughout his life, both as an artist and as an individual, just getting through in his world, and the things that we've had to come up with to ensure that we are included. What we know from this pandemic and from the artists out there who do experience disability and mental health conditions is that we are going to have a much more concrete part of this conversation as we move forwards. One, because we've been dealing with this stuff for a really long time. Two, because a lot of us are already using technology, and there are some incredible leaders out there who have a lot to let the sector know, the industry know, and should be taking a front stage position as we move forwards, not being asked to generously donate their time for free, but to be coming into this forum as consultants, as experts in their field, and as people with a lot to share. Tony, I would love to bring you in now, if we can unmute you.
Right.
And hear a bit about how you are operating in this pandemic time. Hear a bit about the work that you're doing, and at the end I would like to talk a bit about what DADAA has been able to do as an art service. Tony, welcome.
Thank you very much. Just for the record, if you hear a little voice to my right, that's Mallika. She's my support worker, friend, and audio describer for today. And so if any questions that are happening, she'll just whisper them in my ear. So if you hear it, just that's what's going on. At the moment, during this particular situation, I'm actually stepping into an element that I'm quite enjoying, because I started out in film, and when I was younger, in my 20s, or late 30s, actually, early 30s, I should say. And back then I had a little bit of vision and was relatively mobile. Then I lost a lot of vision and I went inside. I hid away from the world. I went into lockdown, as you might say, but I did it for about 15 years. And it's only recently, since actually gaining a guide dog, that I stepped back into the world out there. So it was really, really strange, because this thing comes along and everybody else is freaking out because they're stuck inside. Me, it was perfectly normal. It's like the time is just going, but what I'm learning from both colleagues and another disability is actually using these technologies. What we're doing right now, this Zoom, this isn't something I did before. This is something I'm learning from the people around me, and I'm learning just how great it is for someone who actually does like a little bit of isolation and being blind, and he's got technologies, voiceover technologies. It's opening my world up. It's not stopping me from doing my projects. This thing, it has its external hindrances that, how the rest of the world is dealing with the situation can impact on what I want to do. But as long as the people that I'm working with, such as Mallika or my co-directors, they this ability to connect and use technology is just building for me, and I can see this becoming my normal existence, where I'm working in an online situation, because I have a guide dog, yes, but the world is still time consuming. When you're blind, it can either be expensive if you want to catch taxis, or it can be time consuming when you're taking your dog, and you've got to make you've got to make conditions, you've got to make way, you've got to carry stuff, you've got to take this, that, and the other. You've got to always be aware of what you're doing when you're taking your dog. Not that I'd ever, not have him, but it's the world is not necessarily set up for it. When I'm in this situation at the moment, I'm actually having a really, really good time, and I'm learning a lot. So, for instance, I'm currently doing a proof of concept film. It's a 4-minute film, which will be it's a proof of concept for a much larger film called The Roadhouse Blues. Now, this thing came right in the middle of editing, and that could be a potential disaster. But instead of it being a disaster, I'm learning how to deal with it. My co-director, who is also my editor, has discovered software that is a plugin for his Pro Tools, which is what we're editing the soundtrack on, and he's sets that up. I link him online, and it means that I'm listening into everything that he is using on his computer in the same quality of sound. It's not exporting sound, it's a direct streaming like we're doing now. But with
Tony, are you finding, as you're going through this process, that you're able to suggest improvements to the tech that other people are using that will ensure that it becomes more inclusive for you as a filmmaker, but for others who may be just slowly getting on board? Or is the stuff that you're using way in front of where a beginner might be?
I wouldn't say that I'm way in front. I think I'm actually catching up, and I'm utilizing what other disabled people have been using. That because they're ahead of me, in that when I went insular, and now I'm coming out, and in fact it was a blind person. His name is Tommy Edison, and I met him at a film festival in Melbourne, and we became very, very good friends. He sat down one evening and taught me how to use the iPhone, and it changed my life. That it was a fellow blind person who is absolutely tech savvy, and he's running with this particular. He's out of America, but he's running with this at the same time as, like me. He's using technologies, and he's using podcasting and what's not. He's not letting it. He's ahead of the game, and he's not sort of semi-mentor in that particular thing that I'm realizing just what potential skills that I've also got to offer. That ability to converse, because I'm a conversationalist. I like to dialogue with people. And
thinking about that conversation though, Tony, and going into this new world where, look, I really believe that we will see those excuses that employers have had for so long to ensure that people with disability are not part of the employment of their organisations, of their big businesses, of their consultancy panels, has been this great misunderstanding about the skills and the competencies that are actually brought by people with disability, people with mental health conditions that they are dealing with, the resilience that they bring to any workplace. And I really believe that we are going to, we're never going back. We're never, ever going backwards. We are always going to go forwards. And in going forwards, in setting up this new normal, this wonderful new normal that Belinda, hello, Belinda, that seeing a new normal emerge will include a much more diverse workplace, that we will be seeing more people with disability and mental health being acknowledged as consultants as we move forwards, because we will be able to change the way that we think about who consultants are and what advice we get in a professional sense, and that we can be paying people for their time, even though it is being delivered possibly in an online sense, in a digital way, in a way that is more accessible to so many of us.
Yes. I think this is, you're right. It's been happening for a while though. There's been a sort of a slow development in, for instance, in accessibility, making film accessible with Netflix, audio description, things like that. There's been a big shift. What's happening more now though, and it needs to be, and I think this particular situation is giving us a bit of a push in the correct direction, is giving leadership positions to people with disability. I mean, why is it? I'm pushing, for instance, one of my particular pushes is audio description should be consultant or even leadership from a blind person, because they are the ones who are listening to this particular product. It should be they who are saying, okay, let's break this down. What are we actually seeing in full detail? Okay, I don't need to hear that. I don't need to hear just that, and not a sighted person just saying what a blind person should be listening to. And I'm getting a lot of positive feedback over that, because I've got a skill. I'm both a filmmaker, but I'm also a blind person. That just ipso facto gives me much more of a skill set than a professional audio describer might.
Absolutely. And I think that it's that lived experience that we are now in the business of always describing what that authentic connection is that someone brings to any space, that we have a lived experience. It's not just a person with a disability or a person with a mental health condition, that they have this lived experience, that there is something more authentic than the therapist who doesn't, than the family member who doesn't and isn't the focus, isn't the one who should be in the spotlight. But it's that lived experience that the deaf community is, of course, leaps and bounds ahead in that regards, where it has always been framed as a cultural context. But disability is a culture. Yes. We aren't all the same. We don't all have the same background, even though Tony and I met while describing bar access and ramp access many years ago. So we find ourselves in cultural spaces, having cultural conversations together, and that disability is not just about the condition that we bring in. Mental health is not just about the people who have treated us, who've looked after us, but it's the person out front. And it's the culture of that resilience that they bring to conversations, the culture of how we interact with each other, and the ways that we can challenge the non-disabled community out there by dancing on tables and having everyone wanting to save us.
That's right.
We get to be culturally exclusive in this space at the moment, because we are bringing in a range of skills that others are suddenly going to want and not want to necessarily interfere in or try and make our lives better. We're here to try and make some other lives better.
That's exactly right. And I think, and we can't do it alone, and I'm finding in my own experiences that there are entities, there are organizations who see this favorably. I mean, at the moment, I'm doing my film based on a grant through Screen West, which is our WA sort of funding agency for various films. Now they've got a big push in terms of diversity. That's a big thing for these guys. I'm on the diversity advisory committee for Screen West that sort of talks issues, diversity, not just disability, but anything diverse. And other areas such as film school, film and radio school in Sydney, the AFT area, they're pushing diversity because it's becoming more obvious that there are stories and there are lived experiences that are best told and best understood by those who live those experiences, not external forces. And they're giving opportunities that we need to sort of understand that they're there. And people are wanting to listen. They are wanting to change the way we perceive ourselves, whether it's for me as being a filmmaker and someone wants to hear my voice and what I've got to say, but also other people, just normal working conditions. People do their jobs. They've got normal everyday jobs that are just as capable, if not better, from someone who, we've seen it before with those guys on the spectrum, on the autistic spectrum, just the impact they can have on corporate lives when people understand what they've got to offer. You know, they give them their areas, give their safe rooms, give them their space, and they've got so much to offer. And that's just something we need to sort of broaden into, that cultural identity of being disabled has got something other.
Yes, and I think that it shows, you know, we're in this beautiful time right now to emerge from it triumphant and say, we're not going to leave you behind again. We're not going to move on without you. We're not going to think of this very diverse and culturally significant population of people with a lived experience of disability and mental health as being other. We're not going to move on and have. We're going to have special plans that may legislate across different states how we do that inclusion. But we're not going to leave you behind, and we are going to ensure that you are part of our thinking as we go into spaces that may be about, you know, what we've always thought of as mainstream festivals. Mainstream, it should be where we are placed. As an artist, Tony, how do you think your future of filmmaking and perhaps you might want to just mention, we've got 10 minutes to go, and I haven't seen any hands come up for questions, so we're good. But maybe if you wanted to talk briefly about what's the festival, and where, as a professional artist, and maybe the funding ingenuity that you may have dug deep around to ensure things continue even as we go into a new world, a changed world, and maybe where the timelines are at for what you are planning to put on. Okay.
Yeah, funding is an issue in and of itself, being in this particular time. But the other film festival is something that has been around for a while, but it's out of Melbourne, which I've been going to it pretty much every festival for the last over 10, 15 years since its inception. And I learned an awful lot because I was involved. I was panel discussions and audio description, developing the access consultant, writing reports on how I felt, what was missing, what was good. So I learned a lot about this particular festival, and then it came over here, at least a sub branch of it, and I was asked to run it, both because of the experience that I'd had in my own filmmaking, but also in the time I'd spent at this particular festival, and also because of the fact that I am blind, and I can, you know, I'm let's be honest, I'm something that's an oxymoron, you know, blind filmmaker, but it's putting someone out there who is so other to run a film festival, or to be the artistic director for a film festival at least. It's making a statement, and for me, that's I want to continue that statement. I want the festival to be looking at this thing called agency. You know, who's got control over people, the perceptions of disability, and I want to see a lot more people standing out there and being showcased for their work, whether it's as an individual or whether it's in collaboration. And I think that is my aim, is to show, and that'll come through with the various panel discussions we want to talk about as well. You know,
sure. And so your role as a professional artist, Tony, do you see that you've got an input there as someone who will be sought after in the new world, in the things that you've got to add to other festivals?
As a professional, yes, but not necessarily as a filmmaker. I actually want to make an impact in the world of audio description. I want to be able to take those experiences and open up these areas. They're just not there yet. You don't get, like what the deaf community have got the Auslan, which is just everywhere now. And we need to get the same thing happening. And I'm probably, as far as I'm concerned, I'm one of the better people to actually approach that. And my little slice of the world is to try to improve and open up audio description and make it and normalize it. That's the thing I want to have it as a normal everyday part of society, whether it's television or whether it's on the films, short films, long form. To me, they're all the same. They all need to be accessible to a blind audience, and they're not. They're just a very, very specific number of people get to see it, and certainly much less here in Australia.
Thank you, Tony. Can I just ask, is there someone who's the chat seems to be going at a bit of a pace down there? Is there anyone who's been checking on that, or do I need to?
You want to filter?
Yeah. Was there anyone who wanted to ask a question or recopy a question up there that maybe Tony can answer?
I do have a question. My name is Christy.
Great.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Christy. I'm a white woman with light brown hair, and I have a tall bookcase behind me with lots of coloured books.
Thank you.
That's
what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool. Well, the question is actually to do with audio description. So at first, when I was listening to audio descriptions, I thought, oh, they're so bland, like they're not communicating the energy. And then I read research that said actually we don't want the emotion and all that put in. We actually just want some detail. So I'd like to hear some thoughts from you, more about what is preferred with audio description, at least for you.
Great question. I'm a lover of interpretation. I love audio description to be a part of the film, and so that a blind person is involved. I want the right actor, and I want there to be terminology that's describing things and giving it depth, giving it meaning. Very much like if you'd had a very bland narration on a documentary, you'd switch off. And it's the same for audio description, where at least for me and a whole bunch of people around me, and I'm seeing that kind of trend in America, where you don't get very, very dry connotate, dry dialogue. You're getting depth of dialogue. You're getting word choice, word play to make the experience much nicer.
It's almost adding an additional layer to the work. It's part of a much deeper, not just understanding for a wider audience, but it definitely we're seeing that in how access is being brought in, just even physical access, that it's not just about ramps and toilets, that it's also about this being able to get up close and personal, and with an audio description adding a layer as part of an arts experience.
Exactly.
Tony, it moves beyond access and into being quite immersive.
Can that go too far in the sense of they're actually creating a new work that, rather than creatively describing it, they're actually making it something different?
It is. Yes, you're right. And ideally, audio description should be structured and taken from its inception, from the beginning of a film, which is how I do it. I'm doing it now. I'm writing my audio description as I make my film, so that it runs hand in hand. Shot lengths are made, are subverted to make the audio description slide in better. And instead of making the audio description work for the film, it's a collaboration between the audio description. But when you're working with a pre-made film, you're right, it can be overdone, and you need to be clever about it. And you are going to change the film. It's by its very nature that you change the film, because it means that certain elements that somebody's crafted into their film get left behind because there's audio description in there that's overtaking it. That it's a give and take until we get into a world where audio description is so normal that it's like a soundtrack to a film, where it's written from the beginning, so that it's cohesive. Is that
I think we, Tony, actually need to pull ourselves right up right now as we reach the 10:30 stage. Can I please thank you for joining me? Thank everyone for coming along today. hands in the air, shaking like we care about everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I throw perhaps Norm Farrell? Is there something that you might need to add here, or do we sign out?
No, it's fine. You can sign out. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful time. You can check us out on the DADAA website. You'll find everything you need there. My email address is there. Bye for now.
Bye for now.